We're joined by Chuck Layman, and Chuck is a U.S. Army veteran, served in Afghanistan, and we're going to talk with Chuck about his experiences both in the military and since he left the military. So Chuck, first off, you joined the military right out of high school, right? A
Yes.
couple weeks out of high school. Talk about that and why you decided to join the military and.
Well, the first Gulf War was a big impact on me when I was a kid. I remember my grandparents actually, they came out with like football type cards in 1990, and my grandmother and my grandfather bought me a little set of them. I still have them at the house, and I just thought it was the greatest thing ever. Everybody, I can remember saying, "Oh, we're gonna kick their butt, we're gonna beat them," but as a kid, you kind of thought it was a game. But of course, the older I got, I realized that really wasn't a game. And my dad's brother, Rick, he served in the Army. He was over there. He was actually in the left hook. That was the famous sweep that they did across the Saudi Arabian desert into Iraq. So I haven't really talked to him too much about it. And of course,
Sure,
I
sure.
understand why. But
Sure.
my grandfather, he did 23 years in the Air Force. So I mean, since I was a kid, I kind of wanted to do something like that. And then my junior year in high school, I was more or less looking for the Army recruiter. This is what I want, this is what I want. But I did the ASVAB, and actually I sent it to all 4 branches. And I missed enlisting in the Air Force by 24 hours. The recruiter called me too late. I had already gone down to Richmond and enlisted. And that was kind of a funny conversation that we had. And then I told him, he's like, well, good luck. And he hung up on me.
1998, right? When
Yep.
you joined the Army. So, fast forward a couple years, September 11th, 2001, you're already in the military. How did that,
Yeah.
did that add to your perspective of wanting to be there?
Well, I was actually about 45 days getting ready to leave Hawaii when it happened. And it was actually, at the time, we were about 5 hours behind in time, so I was getting to where the barracks were, do our morning formation and everything, and there's people running around. I mean, it was really hectic. I'm like, what's going on? And then somebody said, oh, we've been attacked, and I'm like, what are you talking about? It didn't make sense, and I didn't really see a lot of the footage or anything until really about 2007, 2008.
Really?
I just couldn't watch it.
Yeah.
Probably shouldn't have watched it then, but it's. I mean, I can't even describe. And we were 18 hours on, 6 hours off on patrol around around the headquarters of the division at Schofield Barracks in Hawaii, and working the gates. I mean, that was pretty hectic.
Mm-hmm.
And then they relieved me of that duty because I was getting ready to leave active duty actually. So I went ahead and turned all the stuff in, and I was gone. And see here, what was that? October 13th of 2001 is when I headed home, and I made the transition from active duty to Virginia National Guard.
Okay.
And
Now, you eventually deployed to Afghanistan. Was that as active duty or as National Guard?
National Guard.
That was National Guard.
National
Okay.
Guard, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
When were you first deployed?
When I was first deployed was about end of January 2002. We went down to Fort Pickett, and they were going to mobilize us for something, but nobody knew. And I heard some rumors that they needed volunteers for the Olympics, the Winter Olympics in Salt Lake in 2002. And I'm like, sounds like that might be fun. And Sergeant Major got up in front of everybody, and he's, I'm looking for some. As soon as it said some, I put my hand up and said, they volunteers for, the Olympics. I'm like, heck yeah, and it was horrible getting there because we drove from Virginia all the way up to Massachusetts on a bus. And then when we flew from Massachusetts to Utah, I was like, why couldn't we just fly from Virginia?
Yeah.
But, I mean, it was somewhat enjoyable. Got to go to some of the events, and that wasn't too bad. And then I came back home, probably it was about March maybe middle of February, end of February, and I was doing Homeland Security down at Fort Pickett, Gay Guard and everything, and then which I was active duty orders, but I was still underneath the National Guard, and I would have been doing that for a while, but my mom ended up coming down with cancer, and she started getting sick like end of October, November of 2001, but she didn't really have any symptoms, and then come April 2002 she passed away, so it was kind of like real fast. And so I left doing that, I came back, and about August of 2002, we heard rumors that we were going to get activated to go to Guantanamo Bay, and I really didn't want to go there. I guess they say in the Army it was like kind of a dog and pony show, and we get the orders, and we go down there, we're just basically doing like tower guards around the Camp Delta, and doing patrols and stuff, and it was, at first it was really hectic because a lot of the people had never been active duty, and I was kind of fresh off it, so I still kind of had the mentality and everything, but a lot of people are, just wide-eyed and everything, and that was really my first taste of dealing with people of Middle Eastern descent. People, we weren't really supposed to talk to them, but they would, kind of talk trash to us and say stuff to us. And for the most part, I didn't really get directly to deal with them because they had MPs that worked on. There was like 3 fences. We were in the middle of the second and third fence, and the MPs were on the inside. So, that went and everything, and I just didn't really want to be there. I'd rather had been in the fight, over there in Afghanistan when it happened, but it was kind of cool, but not at the same time, because March 2003 rolls around, we're still over in Gitmo, and then the second Gulf War, and I remember watching the first Gulf War, with, the night vision, all the green tracers and everything going off, and then I remember them rolling into the desert in Iraq in March of 2003. I'm like, man, this is crazy. And then we were only supposed to initially be there for 6 months, but then the thing happened in Iraq, and there's some rumors, we're going to get extended. I was like, please, I don't want to stay. Just dealing with the like I said, the dog and pony show about it.
Sure.
And we had some fun here and there that we got to do, but it's kind of funny because we weren't told of our extension by our superiors. We read in the local Navy-based paper there that our unit was getting extended 6 months. I was like, oh wow, I appreciate that. Thanks for telling us.
Yeah.
So we just hurried up and finished all that and everything, and came home, and I'd already missed a good part of my daughter's first year or so, because she was born in August of 2002. So I'd already missed a good part of her first year, and I came back home, and I was working my civilian job. I was working with Coca-Cola in Charlottesville, and still doing drill with the National Guard and everything, and because I got home about October of 2003, roughly around there, and about December time we were hearing rumors that another battalion in our unit was going to get activated to go to Afghanistan, and I was thinking, I didn't want to have wasted 8 years, at least the way I saw it, wasted 8 years of my life not doing what I wanted to do, which was my job, which was infantry. I thought about it, and they asked for volunteers. I said, I'm a volunteer, and so I gave my name and everything, and they left down to Fort Bragg at the beginning of March of '04, and they didn't call me. I was like, well, I guess they don't need me. And about towards the end of March, I got a call from my captain. He's like, and I'd already been promoted to sergeant, but the rest of the unit didn't know yet. And so they called me and said, hey, we get your stuff together. We want you to come down to Bragg. I fell down to my knees. I'm like, oh God. to do? You know, but went down there, you know, started training with my platoon. You know, I mean, they sent us through some pretty, very, very rigorous training. I mean, it was like balls to the wall, nonstop. And, you know, yeah, it broke a few people. I mean, like I said, I was still kind of somewhat in that active duty mentality mode, you know, just coming back from that. But Bragg's definitely not fun in the middle of the summer. Not at all. And then we went down to Louisiana for a month to do JRTC, the specific training towards, and that was even worse. The humidity down there. But you know, for the most part, you know, everybody had a good idea of what, you know, they were supposed to do. And,
Sure.
you know, and then as soon as we got in country, it got pretty hectic from there.
How long were you in Afghanistan?
Let's see here, about a year, July 04 to July 05, so roughly about a year.
And infantry, I mean, patrols kind of thing?
Yeah, you know, combat patrols, you know, foot patrols, Humvee patrols. We'd jump on a Marine Sea Stallion and go fly somewhere. We get on a Chinook, or I don't really remember really being in a Black Hawk. That was kind of odd though. But you know, when we first got there, we went down to Ghazni, and we were set off on a little a forward observation base, and it was like about maybe 15-20 miles out from the big base there in Ghazni. We were there for about a month and a half, and 150 Army guys were supposed to replace 400 Marines. So these Marines were doing everything they needed to do, and they were kind of limited with their 400 people.
Sure.
And then they send us to replace 140 with 150. So, you know, I mean, that was crazy. I mean, it'd be like 20 hours on, 2 hours off, maybe.
Sure.
You know, you'd go on guard duty, then you'd turn right back around and do, you know, night patrols. Then you come right back and maybe get a couple hours of sleep, and then, you know, same thing over and over and over again. And within the first 2 weeks of us being there, two of our guys in our headquarters platoon, their Humvee got hit by an IED, and the guy in the turret, he actually got ejected from the Humvee, and he landed on his head and cracked his skull. And the two people in the back seat, one was an interpreter. To be honest with you, I could really care less about him. And then the other guy, there really wasn't much left, and that hit a lot of people really hard. You know, a lot of us were thinking that when we go over there, we were just going to be up at Bagram, the main airfield, just doing tower security and stuff. A lot of people didn't think that we would actually be down there going on combat patrols, and when that happened, I mean, you could definitely see a change on people.
Yeah, that's 2 weeks. You said that's 2 weeks into your tour there. So a year there.
Yeah.
Then you come back stateside?
Yeah. I ended up having to come back early because I had gone on patrol and I messed my left knee up and hurt it really bad, and you know, came back, and I was trying to go through the transition unit at Fort Bragg, but I kind of more or less got pushed to the side because they wanted to hurry up and demobilize everybody in the unit, and I kind of got the shaft there. And then, you know, once we come back, because I was attached to the Bedford unit down in Bedford, Virginia, which was the same unit that stormed D-Day.
Yeah.
And so
the Bedford boys.
Yeah, a little bit of history about that, which I mean, I thought that was, you know, I love World War II history. And you know, we had a parade when we came back, and you know, a lot of guys, you know, a lot of people changed. I mean, you could just see it. Without them even having to say anything to you, you could just look at them and tell that they changed.
Yeah.
I know one guy, I mean, he was, you know, nice, happy-go-lucky, laugh, joke, everything. And, you know, he came home, and he definitely wasn't the same person. It was sad.
Yeah, yeah. So let's talk about that with you then. You obviously lots of things that you're still dealing with all these years later, and not just personally dealing with, but then also the issues you're having getting the attention of the VA and the help and assistance of the VA. That seems to be something that is promised to you guys when you first sign up.
Promised, yeah. Well, the bad thing is even when we were demobilizing, they had a representative from the VA. They're like, oh, you can get these benefits, you can get this, and you this and this and this. And a lot of people were just, man, I want to demobilize. I want to get the hell home. I don't want to sit here for 30 minutes and listen to what the hell you had to say.
Yeah.
But it's just like a skim over. They don't really get in detail and in depth with people. And I know several people that haven't even dealt with the VA. There's benefits that they absolutely deserve, but they just, I don't want to deal with the red tape. I don't want to deal with the BS, nothing. And I got really lucky. The representative out of Stanton, I got a letter saying, I got this information saying you got off active duty, which was active duty National Guard, and I was getting out anyway, February 2006. And he's like, bring your medical records. We'll submit all this stuff. And at that time, I was going through a divorce. The only thing I could attribute that to is my ex-wife didn't really want to deal with the issues that I was having. And, she just said, all right, whatever. And November, she asked for the divorce. And, the only thing I told her is, please don't take my kids away from me, because it was my son and my daughter. And then March of '06 rolls around, she said that she's moving to Texas and taking the kids to live with her sister. And I was pretty upset. And, and I, that this was after the initial paperwork and everything sent to the VA, and I wasn't able to work when I came home because I lost my job at Cook because of my knee. And I had to pay for physical therapy and everything on my own because they had released me off of active duty orders, and the National Guard wasn't taking any responsibility. So I had to get a hold of Senator Webb, Senator Warner. I mean, it was a huge snowball effect. And after about a month and a half, 2 months between like August of '05 and about December of that same year, I finally had like colonels and one-star generals calling me, and I wasn't really thrilled, to be honest with you. And they're like, oh, what can I do for you? What can I do for you? I said, well, where the hell were you in August? Don't call me now. And I have a house, I got a VA loan on it. It's just, finally I was able to get it situated because I got a hold of my senators, but it shouldn't have gotten that far. And so I was able to rehab my knee, and I ended up getting a job at UVA with the police department. I was security at the hospital. And I was going through treatment with the VA because they opened up the Charlottesville clinic up on Pantops. I was going there for mental health because we're dealing with the diagnosis of PTSD and everything. And it was kind of off and on thing going to the appointments and medication and whatnot. And early 2008, I started having back issues. My back feeling really tight and having issues, which it was already service connected. I didn't really think much of it. And then May of 2008 rolls around, and I'm at work at UVA, and they had a call for assistance up on the psychiatric ward. And we go up there, and I wrestle with a patient, and I twist my back, and I herniate a disc in my back. So I had to go through like 4 or 5 months of physical therapy. Submitted, paperwork to the VA to increase my benefits because it was service connected. Because that body armor we wore, it wasn't a joke. That's like 30 pounds right there, not including the rest you got to throw on your back with ammo and everything. So I'm out of work for 6 months, and I lose that job because I couldn't go back to it. And another 6 months, Just still kind of going through the motions and everything. And there's a military base up 29 North, the NJIC, which is it's affiliated with Fort Belvoir. They kind of call it Fort Belvoir South. They had jobs for security. And then by the time I started working there, I'd already been out of work for a year. And I really wanted the job, but also at the same time I kind of skirted the system and basically got a doctor to allow me to go back to work, no restrictions, which I shouldn't have. But, I got 2 kids, I got to take care of them, got to take care of myself. And I knew physically I wasn't ready to go back to work, but, I didn't want to pass that opportunity up for that job.
Sure.
And, which I'm working at that job for 9 months, and then I lose that because my back went out on me again. And that was about March or April of 2010, and I've been out of work since then. And I resubmitted my back and my PTSD service connection to increase, but that got denied because the process on how they do things, they don't take the time to get to know the patient. Because when I went in there for my compensation pension evaluation, he basically had a list. He had 10 questions. He asked me 10 questions. Okay, you're fine. And it's like, how are you gonna rate somebody at a certain disability when you took 10 minutes to ask me a bunch of questions?
Yeah.
And which I know there's a lot of veterans that have probably been dealing with it for 25, 30 years, and from what I was told as well is that the system that they go off of, how they rate disabilities and everything, it's like a 50-year-old system. Dates back to Korea. It's like, wow, that's pretty pitiful.
Yeah, they haven't updated it since then.
It's like, give me a break. And last year in May, I had a spinal cord stimulator implanted because the disc herniated and it didn't retract. It's still herniated and it's hardened, so it still presses up against the nerve, and it's made like the canal where the spinal cord is and the nerves are narrower. So they implanted that, so whenever I have leg pain going down my leg, I can turn it on because it has wires and it goes down to a battery on my side. And I turn it on, it sends tingling down my leg to help relieve some of the pain. And all of last year I was on morphine. All of last year. And I ended up having to quit my morphine cold turkey because I was told I need a right knee replacement. But now they've kind of retracted on that. They said, you're too young, you can't get one, let's just give you a bunch of shots. So I've been having to, deal with the shots.
You're 33, 34 years
32.
old? 32 years old. Right knee replacement, back issues, not to mention the PTSD.
Yeah, that's definitely a big issue there. I've definitely had a lot of issues with that, especially with a past relationship that I was in. One of her friends, her brother was Muslim, but I never met him or anything, and I have a lot of issues with those people in that religion. Of course, dealing with what I had to deal with in the Army, and I had a lot of friction there between it all, and I just not fun. But just dealing with the VA, like when my back surgery, I had to deal with 9 months of red tape to finally get my back surgery.
Yeah.
And the thing was, they initially weren't going to do the surgery because they sent an email to the chronic pain clinic, and this is at Richmond, Hunter Holmes in Richmond. They said that I needed to make some lifestyle changes before they decided to do surgery. And one of the nurses that I talked to, she's like, oh, I'm not supposed to tell you this, but basically they're saying you need to lose some weight before they do surgery. I flipped. I went off. And yeah, I gained weight, but the issue was I couldn't be active because of my back.
And your knee.
And with my knee, and I'd already had my knee scoped once in 2009, and I had to deal with about 8 or 9 months of red tape in Richmond, and then I had to go civilian side once I got back to work to get my knee scoped. And the orthopedist said, my knee was a lot worse than what the MRI showed when he went in and scoped my knee and everything. Oh my God, I'm 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. It's like, I feel like I'm like 65, 70 years old. My body hurts.
Yeah.
And being on the morphine all of last year, I couldn't really feel it.
Yeah.
And I feel it every day now that I've been off of it.
Yeah.
But, just dealing with the red tape of, especially in Richmond. Richmond, I don't know what their deal is. Trying to get the back surgery. And, it's just, there's a huge disconnect somewhere.
It'd be hard enough dealing with bad knee, bad back, PTSD, the family situation having been what it is, everything else, your job situation being what it is, everything else, without 9 months of red tape here and 9 months of red tape there. It's tough enough without the red tape. Like that doesn't help you at all.
No, it doesn't. And it's just like a snowball effect. It gets bad, and it's like, I tried to be nice and diplomatic about things, but it seems like dealing with the VA, if you're going to be nice and kind of let things go, they're going to continue to, give you hurdles you need to jump, and I just got tired of it. Mm-hmm. And with this last one, when I submitted claim for my PTSD, they don't even, I'd been out of work for 2 years. I didn't take that into account, and unfortunately over the last 6 months to a year, I've fallen behind in my child support because I don't have physical custody of my son and my daughter. Their mother does. And, I haven't really been able to take care of them because I haven't been able to work, and the VA is not stepping in to, help me one way or the other. And, and it's like, my ex-wife decides because we have an agreement with, divorce decree and everything, $400 a month for child support, and if she decides she wants to, open up a case, and they see that I haven't been paying, guess who's going to jail? Mm-hmm. What's the VA going to do for me then? Nothing. Right. And then I could potentially lose my VA benefits because I'm going to jail. Mm-hmm. If I do go to jail. And she's been somewhat lenient, but I know, it's gotten harder with the economy and everything, but right. I gotta have a place to live. I gotta make sure, I'm somewhat taken care of, but I can't take care of them if the VA doesn't take care of me, because the VA, that's the only thing I can depend on right now is the VA.
So how are you getting by? What do you do?
I get my VA benefits. I get some workman compensation because of my back. And I've actually filed for Social Security as well with my physical issues and with my mental health issues, which 9.5 times out of 10 Social Security is going to deny the first one, so I'll have to fight that. Now I'm already fighting the VA to increase my benefits and to get possibly get 100% disability due to my physical and my mental health issues. But from what I've been told, it's about a 1.5 to 3 year process in claims. I've already gotten a hold of Senator Warner. They're helping me with the case because I tried Bob Goodlatt's office several times, and I just didn't seem like that was going anywhere. And the last time I talked to his secretary in Stanton, I said I'd like to have a face-to-face meeting with him, and she kind of got off. Did you file this paperwork? Did you file that paperwork? I'm like, I don't really understand why filing paperwork is going to do anything with me talking to him. He's supposed to be representing me, and and then that's when the crossover between the VA and the politics, it gets really, it gets a lot worse. And it's just, just fighting right now. My wife got laid off from her job, so I have the only income coming in. And the problem is, just with my VA benefits alone, I make too much to get any type of assistance at all, as in like Medicaid or Medicare or whatever it is, or food stamps or anything.
Sure.
So I've been having to go to food banks to get food from local churches, and
it's not what you signed up for.
No, it's not. And I have to absolutely credit World War I veterans for doing what they did after World War I. Because if they didn't do what they did, there might not be a VA to somewhat support me now. But, since 2006 when I got home, I've lost 3 jobs. 2 really good jobs.
Yeah, yeah.
Due to physical and or my mental issues, well, where's the VA stepping in and helping me?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have to absolutely prove to them, and I shouldn't have to do that.
Right.
You know, I mean, my medical, my medical records and my mental health medical records and my record in the military should speak for itself, but unfortunately it doesn't.
Right. The security jobs, the job with Coca-Cola you've had show you want to be and will be a productive member of society if they could just get you pointed in that right direction.
You know, and
they're not doing so.
Yeah, I mean, it's an everyday fight, unfortunately.
And what's interesting, I mean, everything about this is interesting, but when we talked recently about this, you said even so, you'd still, knowing what you know, yeah, you would have still signed up for the military or high school.
Absolutely. I mean, that's like I said, when a junior in high school, I was the one looking for the recruiter, and he's like, I can't talk to you till you're a senior. But you know, that's what I wanted to do. You know, I wanted to feel like I was worth something, that you know I could make a change. You know, kind of unfortunately, I mean, being in Afghanistan, that was a huge culture shock for everybody. And even looking at what's on the news and everything today, you know, we had some reporters from the Roanoke Times that were embedded with us. And they asked us, you know, if we felt like we made a change. And I said, no. Mm-hmm. And I was right.
Because you left 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's still ongoing.
It's gotten a lot worse.
It's gotten worse, yeah.
You know, within 6 months of us leaving our area of operation down in Ghazni and everything, they had a broken arrow incident, which is basically all, you know, airplanes, every available fighter come to this position because we're getting overran. You know, and that freaked me out. And I just read in the paper the other day that 8 soldiers died in a village, Kogiani. We were in that village. And that could have been us. I mean, you know, we had 2 guys die to enemy fire, IED, and we had 1 young guy commit suicide. You know, I don't want to say lucky, but we were absolutely lucky to only lose 3.
Yeah.
We really were.
Having seen the statistics, certainly, it seems that...
I mean, I know for a fact that my Humvee and my platoon alone drove over no less than 5 IEDs and they did not explode. Because we had some local people, we had one road coming this way, and then here's the compound, we had another road. A couple villagers that lived down this way, they told us that they saw a guy like a few days or a week or so ago plant something in the road. Come to find out, it was a pineapple grenade, an anti-tank mine, and a pressure plate. And the only reason it didn't explode is because we didn't drive over that pressure plate.
There but for the grace of God, right? I mean, one way to say it.
Absolutely. You know, the first couple months we're there, you know, we're driving, we're hitting rocks and bumps. I mean, you're like this. But then after a while, it's just like, if it's my time, it's my time. Yeah, you know.
So you don't regret that, but I remember you telling your son when I met you first a few weeks ago that you wouldn't want him to sign up for the military. Not necessarily the military. Was it? You said not
combat
the Army.
arms.
Combat arms. Yeah,
no,
yeah.
No, the combat arms is not for everybody. You know, even with Marines, I'd rather him do Air Force or the Navy. You know, I just don't want him to have to deal with what I had to deal with. You know, I want him to be a better man than me. I want him to go a different route. And I know a lot of his childhood is based off of what I did in the military. I mean, a lot of that is. But, you know, and I made him promise to me that, you know, if you do go in the military, please go in the Air Force or the Navy. Just don't do what I did. I mean, it's, you know, it's not only, 18, 19 years old, you're not thinking of what you're doing to your body. I'm only 32. Like I said, I feel old. I mean, everything snaps and cracks, you know.
Yeah.
It hurts all over.
Every day. Yeah. Well, for our viewers, we'll have more information on our website, AugustaFreePress.com, more information about Chuck and then about what veterans are dealing with following their tours of duty in Iraq and Afghanistan. Chuck, I want to thank you for joining us and sharing your story.
Thank you.